I'll call the meeting to order, meeting of the San Joaquin Council of Governments. My fellow board members, I'll be chairing the meeting in my role as the former Council of Government Chair until the board elects a new chair and vice chair. I want to welcome the new members, and I'm happy to return to the board in my elected position as a supervisor for our San Joaquin County District 3. Being on this board shows a real commitment to serving the people in this region with multi-modal transportation solutions. Now please join me for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Roll call, please.
Mayor Kinjo,
Yeah, ma'am.
Mayor Ariola,
Present.
Councilmember Craig. Here. Supervisor Dhaliwal,
Here.
Supervisor Ding. Councilmember Ingo.
Here.
Councilmember Enriquez,
Here.
Mayor Fugazi,
Present.
Councilmember Ponce,
Present.
Supervisor Rickman,
Here.
Mayor Singh,
Here.
Mayor Sue,
Here.
Councilmember Zuber,
Here.
Gary Giovanetti,
Here.
Grace Mexayo,
Here.
Bill Treza.
Yep.
We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Item number 2, we have 2 recognitions. I will turn it over to Executive Director Diane Nguyen.
Good evening, board members. I wanted to share 3 new members of the SJCOG team. For our existing board members, you're familiar with SJCOG's partnership with the Civic Spark program. Civic Spark is an AmeriCorps program where they have 15 states participating in their program. They recruit over 100 young leaders from the community and try to place them in local and regional governments among these 15 states. These young students and graduates are anxious to make a difference in the community, and also they get interviewed for this position, but we also, it's a two-way process. They also interview us because there are other agencies wanting to place them. So we're very fortunate to have 2 Civic Spark Fellows join SJCOG. They'll be here through September. We have Mariana Bernson Perez. She comes to us as a graduate from UCLA. Mariana, can you stand up, please? Mariana is a double major in political science and communications. She has that degree, and you will find that these 3 new staff represent our mega region. Mariana is from Contra Costa County, and she is anxious to make a difference. So we said, you're hired. Welcome, Mariana. Then I'd like to introduce a Stanislaus County resident. We have Alvaro Gamino. He joins us as a Civic Spark Fellow, also working through September. Alvaro is a recent graduate from the University of California, Santa Barbara, with a degree in environmental studies. So can you please stand up? And finally, closing out the mega region, we have Raul Tovar, who is from Sacramento County. Raul is a recent graduate from UC Davis, Sustainable Environmental Design, and he spent a few years in the private sector, and most recently was a contract planner for the city of Stockton. He joins our planning team, and we're thrilled to have him on board as an assistant regional planner. Raul. And I do want to share, in 1995, there was a young planner who got a job here at SJCOG and took the Amtrak train to her job interview, and this was her first job out of grad school. That was me. And now, in 2025, we interviewed a second candidate that went to the job interview using the Amtrak train, and that's Raul. So we're announcing them first because Raul has to catch the 4:30 train back to Sacramento. So welcome you all. We're really excited to see the contributions they will have under your leadership. Thank you.
Item number B.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you for item number B. I wanted to formally introduce myself to our new board members, but first wanted to say, I want to start today by welcoming our existing and returning board members to the San Joaquin Council of Governments. Your policy direction from 2024 and the regional initiatives you established really set the course and the agenda-setting table for 2025. I want to take this opportunity to welcome our ex officio returning board members as well. Thank you for your service. And then introduce our new board members. Of course, one of them is not new to us, Supervisor Sunny Dalwal, but new in this seat. And welcome the other 6 board members. With the 6 new board members to the COG, I want to say that you will find that this board will be a board that fosters strong partnerships in its mission to serve the community and to strengthen transportation planning and regional planning for its residents. And you will also find on this board that this is a place where innovation and collaboration is celebrated. While acknowledging the changes to the board membership, I do want to say in my 2022 years at SJCOG, I can confidently say that the board may change through the years, but what has never changed is its belief system and its practice, that when we come together, we are stronger together, and we all focus on what matters for this region. Last year, the board did several very significant actions and policy direction that led to some significant milestones I want to just take a minute to highlight. Through the actions of last year's board, the region was able to break ground on the Highway 99-120 project, Phase 1A. Now, this was possible through many years of strategic planning and some very difficult funding decisions in order to award a contract over $50 million to Tykert to begin construction on this project. In that difficult decision, the board had to weigh a swap of funds from its other highway priority, I-205 managed lanes, which had been programmed some state funds by this board, and to transfer those state funds in order to close the shortfall on 99-120. It just shows you that there are many difficult decisions this board has to make in order to advance regional priorities. In that action, however, the board clearly identified that when the state funds come back in the next programming cycle, the I-205 managed lanes would be considered a top priority. And in this year, in 2025, those state funds will come back again, and that cycle will start in the middle of this year. The board also is closing out on its $7 million grant from the California Air Resources Board, which funded the Sustainable Transportation Equity Project. It brought the first ever electric car share and electric bike share to Stockton and disadvantaged communities in this region. And what I'm proud to say is this multi-year effort was absolutely made possible by the collaborations with SJCOG and the San Joaquin Housing Authority, University of Pacific. We also had Uber collaboration, and community-based organizations were actively involved in this project, as well as all of the transit operators in San Joaquin that made this project a success as we come to a wrap-up earlier this year. I also wanted to note that the board took a significant action to infuse $67 million to all public transit operators, that's bus and rail, in the San Joaquin region to address those operators facing transit fiscal cliff challenges. That was a major, momentous action by the board in programming those funds. Also, last year, we saw the San Joaquin Council of Governments Board develop another nonprofit arm, another hat for the COG. And that hat is the Regional Housing Trust Fund. the board seeded $5 million in this trust fund in order to leverage another $5 million, which we were waiting for from the state in a state grant opportunity. I wanted to express our appreciation to the member agencies who passed a resolution in full support of the COG and its Regional Housing Trust Fund in order for us to apply for this grant. And I hope anytime soon we will get results that our $5 million is going to leverage another $5 million from the state. Finally, I want to say that this board not only divides funds and programs funds to transportation priorities, it takes every opportunity to leverage and bring new dollars into this region. The board is very active in the San Joaquin Valley Policy Council that advocates both in Sacramento and DC for transportation funding. Board members are active in the Mega Region Working Group, made up of SJCOG, SJCOG, and San Joaquin COG. And then, of course, the San Joaquin COG One Voice, where board members and other supporters through the jurisdictions and our partners go to Washington, D.C. to advocate for a transportation list of projects that need federal funding. You will find later in this agenda item some information about a draft list of projects that is in development for the 2025 One Voice DC trip. And as I shared with the board, we have some great results already coming in from the last trip, $41 million to the city of Tracy for its 580 Core Hollow Interchange project, which was one of the projects on the DC list from last year. We also continue to monitor the $250,000 in a pending federal earmark for the I-205 managed lanes. This is just a few of the accomplishments from the COG board from 2024 that I believe puts this 2025 board in a place where it is exceptionally well positioned. We are going to work together under your leadership to address transportation challenges in San Joaquin and to advance regional transportation policy and planning. So with that, I wanted to say on behalf of the COG staff, we look forward to both the returning board members and the new board members in your leadership to us as we deliver COG's mission to serve the residents of San Joaquin County. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. Next is public comments. Rosie, do we have any speakers, any cards?
I do not.
Anybody from public want to speak at this time? No? Let's go to consent calendar. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Roll call, please.
Mayor Kenjo,
Abstain. I was not here.
Mayor Ariola,
Yes.
Councilmember Craig. Yes. Supervisor Dhaliwal,
Yes.
Supervisor Ding,
Yes.
Councilmember Engel. Yes. Councilmember Enriquez,
Yes.
Mayor Fugazi. Yes. Councilmember Ponce,
Yes.
Supervisor Rickman,
Yes.
Mayor Singh,
Yes.
Mayor Sue,
Yes.
Councilmember Zuber.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. Next is approve SJCOG chair and vice chair to serve the remainder of fiscal year 24-25. Diane?
Thank you, Supervisor Dhaliwal. We are looking for 2 seats to fill the vacancies for COG chair and vice chair at the San Joaquin Council of Governments. Not in our bylaws, but as tradition, there is a rotation of jurisdictions that is identified in the staff report. The existing rotation has City of Lathrop as a seat for chair and City of Stockton as a seat for vice chair. In these roles, the term is for fiscal year, so the vacancy would cover from today's meeting through June 30th, 2025. The Executive Committee makes a recommendation to the COG Board, and the Executive Committee has recommended that those seats be filled with the respective mayors from those jurisdictions to serve the remaining of the term. Therefore, the Executive Committee has recommended that Mayor Paula Kinjo fill in this seat as Lathrop's mayor vice chair for COG, and then Mayor Christina Fugazi filling the seat as vice chair for SJCOG. That is a recommendation for consideration to this board by the executive committee. Thank you.
So moved.
I'll move to adopt the resolution.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Kenjo,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Ariola,
Yes.
Councilmember Craig,
Yes.
Supervisor Dollywall,
Yes.
Supervisor Ding,
Yes.
Councilmember Engel,
Yes.
Councilmember Enriquez,
Yes.
Mayor Fugazi,
Yes.
Councilmember Ponce,
Yes.
Supervisor Rickman,
Yes.
Mayor Singh,
Yes.
Mayor Sue,
Yes.
Councilmember Zuber.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, incoming chair and vice chair. At this point, I will pass on the gavel to the new chair, and this is number 2 in a month and a half.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Dollywell. That's very appreciated from you. Thank you. Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, before you move on, in the next item, can we capture public comment before the board takes any action going forward, please?
On,
On any of the action items, before a motion or before any action is taken, just recommend public comment prior to doing so. Thank you.
okay. Council, you cannot throw me off. This is a discussion item, no, not action item.
I'm saying the going forward, so I apologize if I threw you off. The last action item, no public comment was taken, so I just want to make sure that going forward, that public comment is taken before an action. That's all. So thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, we have discussion items.
Actually, there's a second action item, right?
Yes, Mr. Chair, item 5B is a public hearing for unmet transit needs. If it's okay with you, staff would like Joel Campos to present the item 5B.
Okay, open 5B. All right, Mr. Joe.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Each year, pursuant to state law, as the Regional Transportation Planning Agency, SJCOG must identify unmet transit needs that may exist within the region and determine whether those needs are reasonable to meet prior to issuing out any TDA or Transportation Development Act funds later on this year. Part of that process requires that SJCOG conduct public outreach. And so between October through December, SJCOG conducted various presentations, public hearings. We released an online survey and even had conversations with members of the public. And so tonight, we are culminating all of that with one final public hearing. And so this is pretty simple. We're asking the chair to open a public hearing for comments on the region's unmet transit needs, and then close the public hearing after receiving any comments.
Okay, the augment transit for this region is now open for public comments. Anybody in the audience? Am I missing? No? Bring it back to the board. Any comment from the board of directors? Bearing none, what is the pleasure?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With that, there is no action needed to be taken by the board tonight. Staff will come back with a recommendation for the board at a later date.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on, discussion items 6A, to receive information on draft measure case strategy plan. Mr. Ryan Mitlock.
There we are.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and good evening, members of the board. So this is a discussion item on the Measure K strategic plan, and for context, I want to share that the Measure K strategic plan serves as the guiding document for delivery of Measure K programs and projects, and it functions similar to a capital improvement program for eligible categories that have been approved by San Joaquin County voters. Measure K renewal funding is divided as follows, as shown in the staff report. 35% of funds go to local street repair and roadway safety. 32.5% goes to your congestion relief projects, like state highway and regional arterials. 30% of funds go to bus transit, bus rapid transit, passenger rail, and bicycle pedestrian, and 2.5% is assigned for railroad crossing safety. So an updated Measure K strategic plan draft is available for review, and this draft reflects updated revenues from the San Joaquin Council of Governments financial consultant, which shows slightly higher growth in Measure K than previously forecasted over the 30-year period of the program out to 2041. So specifically, that new estimate shows a roughly 2% increase, as I said, through 2041 as compared to the prior estimate. And so with that, we have some financial highlights to share. First, for those programs that are issued on a formula basis, they're going to benefit from higher annual revenue that come in, as most of them are distributed on an annual basis. So that includes your local street and road repair. What comes in comes right back out to our partner agencies, but this also means our bike ped program, the non-competitive bike ped program, as well as our regional arterials program. And then just as a reminder note on our state highway program, this is a program that is nearly fully subscribed due to the early action program that was established under Measure K in 2011, which advanced hundreds of millions of dollars in Measure K to construct the I-5 HOV lanes that we all use, State Route 99 widening from Stockton to Manteca, and to the Crosstown extension. So as a result, there's very little in terms of new capacity coming into this program. And then lastly, what I wanted to talk about was regarding all categories, Measure K policy has always held amounts in reserve each year in the event of a recession or a reduction in revenue collection. And we've seen this before, whether that be the Great Recession or other periods where just revenue collections were lower than anticipated. An amount is kept in reserve from each program to ensure that funds are not over-programmed against these future revenue forecasts to make sure that projects remain funded. So as has been noted in our prior committee meetings in both November and January, our financial analyst has suggested that with higher than anticipated revenue collections since the pandemic, and with this slightly higher than anticipated overall funding forecast, there may be an opportunity here for the region to consider the assignment of these funds that have been held in reserve to date. So we're about halfway through the Measure K program. It's not a bad idea to take a look at these reserves, take a look at this overall rosier picture of future funding, and see whether or not there's an opportunity to issue some of those funds. Specifically, what the consultant computed was that the uncommitted funding to date includes $62 million in regional arterials, $37.8 million in passenger rail, $18.8 in bus transit, $9.7 million in bus rapid transit, and $400,000 for bicycle pedestrian projects. So this is an item that is meant for discussion, to take feedback and direction. And that's what staff is looking for here, is a conversation from our board members, where we'd like to know things like, should these funds be made available for Measure K programming, and if so, what process and policy implications should be considered? What are your thoughts? So COG staff is seeking input to take into the Measure K strategic plan and use that information to help in our follow-up efforts to work with our partner agencies with any new funding that is made available. So this time I'm happy to take questions, comments, and direction. I also wanted to highlight that we do have Grace Orozco, our interim deputy of finance, available to help with questions as well. And for those who have been around, we have Steve Dial here as well, who's serving SJCOG in a consultant role and has a wealth of knowledge on Measure K history. So I'll stop there. Happy to take whatever feedback you may have.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I do have a question or a comment to make, and thank you, Ryan, for telling me earlier how this discussion went with the Citizens Advisory Committee. There are two members of that body that have an interest in Lodi, and I know they had, if I'm correct, mentioned the fact that we have to be cautious about how much we liquidate out of reserves. And so one of the questions or one of the suggestions I would make is I don't have a problem using reserves, but I would like at least a financial policy in place that says we're only going to use a certain percentage of those reserves. It kicks back to projects so that we know there's always something there for that rainy day or that instance where state funding doesn't come through in the way we think it might come through for similar projects. So I'd be happy to see this go to the executive committee for some discussion about what that percentage might be to hold back, and then award the rest of it on the as-need basis based on projects or the criteria established in Measure K or even One Voice projects. You know, I mean, everything needs a little bit of extra help. So just a comment and recommendation.
Thank you, Board Member. Lisa, anybody else have a comment?
I have one. I agree with the previous comment. A lot of our money goes to construct and build things. And we're in a period of time now where costs are ridiculous. And I'm a little reluctant to pay down the reserves and then be sitting here and there's a project that needs an extra X amount of dollars and we don't have it. That's an experience that the Rail Commission right now is going through, and it's ridiculous. So for a period of time, I don't mind spending it, but we need to really be careful about how low that gets for a few. If it gets closer to 30 years, I probably would feel a little bit better, but we still got 15 years to go. And I've sat in meetings lots of times where forecasters have told us X and the result seems to be Y, and it's not always as good. So just be careful.
Any more comment? Yes, Supervisor Rico.
Thank you, Chairman, and I agree with both my colleagues. But one thing that we should look at is what projects that may need funding to, keep them, bump them over the threshold, because every year prices keep going up. So we may have tons of reserve, but just costing us more money for these individual projects. So in reality, we're spending more when we could have spent less if we would have spent down years previously. But I think it is a good policy to have a percentage-wise that we withhold, something set up concrete so future boards and our staff would know, what our threshold is. So thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Rico. Yes, Mr. Giardini.
I would agree with the comments made by Councilmember Craig and Supervisor Rickman, but I really do think that a majority of this reserve should be available for Measure K programming. And I'd also like to add to the second question, if so, what process and policy implications should be considered, and I would suggest that we maintain the same formula that we've been using. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Giardini. Comments from board members?
Chair, Mayor Singh has his hand up.
Yes, Mayor Singh.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I agree with my colleagues. Definitely understanding this at the meeting, we see that, we have this rainy day fund and it's continuing. I would be in support of using some of that, understanding the cost with all of our projects for Measure K, but still leaving some for that rainy day just in case. So I think there should be a policy that we can work on and trying to find a hybrid process where some of it can be used to bring some of those projects to the finish line, but at the same time, don't sell ourselves short.
Thank you, Board Member Singh. I do have a question for you, Mr. Niblock.
Yes.
So, in your analysis that was done for this Measure K disbursement, what did the financial, I know it's a double-edged sword, what did the financial analyst, what did he tell you? What did she or he tell you for the future?
Our consultants suggested that we would be able to, if the board chose to, use the higher than anticipated revenue collection that has occurred over the last 4 years through the pandemic that were higher than what our last strategic plan had projected, as well as their forecast that suggests that the future would have a higher forecast, that we could use that as the confidence to release those reserves, but it would be contingent upon the board's comfort level. But that if you so chose to release them all, that it would be possible that this rainy day fund would refill relatively reasonably with these forecasts.
But she did not speak, he or she did not speak to depletion ratio, did he?
That may be a little too in the weeds for me. I'd be looking to Gracie for.
I mean, you can see the consensus of the board is like two-edged sword, right? We want something in reserve. Prices are going up, if I'm listening correctly. If we don't do anything now, we might miss out too.
Right.
So unless there's an extraneous issue that specifically said depletion is horrible, or a percentage needs to be set aside, I think we need to look at what Supervisor Rickman said. We need to do something now while the price is still in our favor, or the funds is still in our favor. By the time we decide, many months or years from now, to use Measure K, the prices might have gone up than we expected. But I agree with the board, it's all open for discussion. But my other question for you is that on this transportation issue, if an item is overused, like you said on the highway item, is there a possibility to bring it back?
So I guess what I would say is, so at the top of the staff report, you have a note on the percentage distribution to 4 main categories. Mm-hmm. Congestion relief is one of them, local street and road repair. So by the end of 2041, we need to deliver that promise to the public. And so what we're saying with the detail is that some of the projects from the state highway were front-loaded in Measure K, and it takes time to replenish that budget. I'm hoping I'm answering your question.
Yes, you are. You are. Mm-hmm. So that money needs to come back. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
So that's why we don't have much in the way of additional programming capacity in that program, is because of the front loading in 2011.
Okay, I got you. All right, but I do have a public comment on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment.
Yes, yes, sir.
I do agree with my colleague on my right, Board Member Craig, the suggestion she made. If you're going to make any change, I think it should definitely go to the executive committee for discussion and recommendation.
Okay. Understood.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Dolliver. Okay. I do have a public comment on this item. Mr. Baxter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, board members, and welcome back to the returning board members and the new ones. My name is Ken Baxter. I am the San Joaquin Regional Transit District Government Affairs Director, and thank you for your time. I'll make this very quick, but hopefully all of you will receive, I see it's going around now, it's a 2-page duplex letter from our CEO, Alex Clifford, to Diane Guin, the Executive Director for SJCOG. And this was submitted at the Management and Finance Committee last Wednesday, and the highlights were articulated. And I would just like to point out the first item there, number one, the Measure K reserves, that's before you tonight for discussion. We would recommend that the funds, it's about $128.7 million in reserve now if you add up all of the 5 categories. And some of those are more competitive for the arterials. The bus transit category, that's the formula. In fact, it's on page 22 of your draft 25 Measure K strategic plan, as well as it was in the, and still is, in the 2019 strategic plan. So we would like to have those funds dispersed. We do understand and very sensitive to and support a need to have a contingency. So I guess it's a matter of what does that really mean? And we feel perhaps that needs to be collaborated with the partners, the recipients of these different categories, because I would think it would vary a little bit, because in the best category, we use a lot of those funds for operating versus the capital, where you might be more at risk. Apologize, I'm having some throat challenges. So we do support that, and the question that's in the staff report, what process, so I've shared that. And as far as it has something about the implications on policy, we think it will be very positive. We don't see any negative issues. And so really this is good news with the money. I'd like to very quickly, just a couple of minutes here, look at item 2. We looked at the entire Measure K that's before us in draft form now, and the appendices, which is about 130 some odd pages. And item 2 there is very important for us, at least for our agency, and we ask you to consider this. It's the Measure K category programming targets. It's a table 4 in the 2019 plan. And it really lays out the funding estimates, the targets in the past and the future, and it helps us immensely with our financing and planning out in the future and doing our budgets. So that's something we would really like to see back in that plan. And if you turn the duplex letter over on item 3, it's talking here about a funding matrix. Within the appendices and Appendix D, to be specific, there's a table, 4 or 5 pages, and it lays out the groundwork on Measure K revenue, expenditure, and balances. But there's a lot of questions. We read that, and we just had a lot of questions, and some of the bullets are recognizing that. Not going to get into the details at all, but I put it out there so we would really like to see those addressed in the final appendices, especially D there. And then the last item there, it's next to the last paragraph. We're requesting a workshop, and we're looking perhaps maybe a multi-day workshop with all of the partners, where all of our staff can come together and really kind of discuss and understand the history and how the process works and how the rollovers and debt issues, through the journey from 1990. I've been around here in this region for many years, served as ex-official from the state of California for about 17 years on this board, and I realized the importance in the immense funding and benefits coming out of Measure K. It's wonderful. So I just needed to share that with you, our perspective at least from RTD, and I just want to thank all of you for your service and what you do for our region. We appreciate you, and it's very important. And that's all I have, unless there's questions, but if not, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any more comments from the public? Bring it back to the board. Comments, questions, board members? Then, this time I would like to seek the advice of the council. The council, so how do you process these now? I don't think it requires a vote to bring it back to the executive committee for consideration before any decision could be made. Is that true? Is that the understanding?
Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Chair. So this item was fully intended for board discussion, so the staff could receive input, as you see in the recommendation, that they're seeking input on both the plan and existing funds and held in the reserve for the above-mentioned categories that are in your catalog. So if your board discussion is over, you can now move on to the next item.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, I have a comment.
sure.
I'd like to direct the question at Diane, the CEO for COG. What is your opinion on putting together a staff workshop? Since we have the Measure K draft report, what is your feeling about putting together a staff workshop?
I would say that we're still unpacking all the elements of that letter, and we certainly will be getting back to RTD. At this point, we're looking for feedback from all of our jurisdictions, and I wanted to express a thank you to RTD for expediting their comments. They're first to give us some extensive comments. We want to be thorough in reviewing their comments, at the same time not closing the door for other jurisdictions to give comments, so we can get them all together and then respond accordingly.
Okay, so you're not opposed to a workshop then?
I'm not opposed. What I'm saying is that all the comments are welcome and under review.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I might kind of follow up on that. I appreciated what you just said, because I think if, just like RTD had the opportunity to provide something to us, which I think has some valid points for clarity that they're trying to understand, I think if all of our jurisdictions have the opportunity to review and provide comments, I would leave it up to the executive committee to decide whether or not you think a workshop is needed. If it's an important issue, we have to make some decisions. I'd rather we keep moving, because that money needs to either get out and/or we need to address what some reserve may be we hold back. And just as a last item, I'm comfortable with knowing past expectations and overages, additional revenues that have come in. I'm really hesitant about future forecasting. I think we've all been we've been hit hard, the state in general too, about when we try to forecast the future and we find out that we have less funds. I'd rather have more funds and then we know what to do with it. But I think that we can, again, leave this to the executive committee to decide if they have sufficient information.
Okay, thank you. Bearing no more comments, let's move to the next item. Item B, SJCOG, receive information on the 2025 One Voice and project submission list. Mr. Campos again. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As the board heard earlier from the boss, One Voice is SJCOG's legislative advocacy program for San Joaquin County, promoting projects and issues of regional significance to federal legislators and agencies through an annual trip to Washington, D.C. For the 2025 One Voice cycle, the SJCOG board approved guidelines and solicited a call for projects back in October 2024. The deadline to submit projects was December 13th, and SJCOG received 12 projects or applications. Those are listed in your staff report. An ad hoc committee was formed by volunteers from throughout the region, from member agencies like the City of Ripon, City of Tracy, from the county. Even RTD and the Rail Commission had representation on the ad hoc committee, and then also the San Joaquin Partnership and the Business Council. So we had a large volunteer group that evaluated all the applications. That committee's purpose was not to eliminate projects, but to review the submittals and provide feedback on their strengths and weaknesses. On the 17th of this month, SJCOG staff compiled all the comments that we received from that ad hoc committee, and we distributed all the feedback back to the applicants to give them an opportunity to make edits, necessary changes, or even submit a different project. So in the case of the City of Tracy, some clarifications like the airport's connector project for their extension, also RTD's vehicle replacement, and then again the City of Tracy with the replacement of the I-580 Coral Hollow project. That project again, as you are aware, received $41.35 million recently. So that's really exciting, and it really just shows, how we're stronger together with one voice. So with that, I also just wanted to bring up some additional information. We did receive a project from the Stockton East Water District. I'm going to read from here. The Stockton East Water District has been a strong partner of SJCOG's One Voice program and an attendee with the delegation for my understanding, decades. And in recent years, SJCOG, to be more competitive, modified its program criteria to be really focused primarily on transportation-related policies and projects. And with that, the Stockton East Water District's project falls out of the parameters outlined in the board-approved guidelines. SJCOG staff is coordinating with the Stockton East Water District regarding their project. However, it is up to the board's discretion on how you would like to move with that. So this is a discussion item. We're not asking for any action tonight. We will be bringing back a final list of projects in February for board to take action on. But we just wanted to inform the board about this draft project list and that there's going to be some changes to this list, and then also about this Balota Weir modification project. With that, there's some next steps, as I mentioned. We'll be bringing back that final list, and then the delegation should be traveling to DC in May of 2025, so that you can place that on your schedules. With that, I'm available for any questions or comments, concerns.
Board, any questions for Mr. Campos?
Question, sir.
Yes, Supervisor Dario.
Thank you. Mr. Campos, I'm very happy for the 41 million that we received for 580 and Carl Hall. It's well needed. My question is, we submitted a long list of projects when we were in DC. Should we go there with the same approach, or we change it, learning from the success story from 580 and Carl Hollow? And do they make any comments on other projects that we submitted, or they just leave them the way they are?
When the delegation does attend the trip to DC, they receive a lot of feedback from all the federal agencies. And COG staff are in all of those meetings, ensuring that we're transcribing all those comments, and also staff from member agencies attend as well. And so the purpose of the eval committee, along with that feedback that we receive, is to ensure that our projects are more competitive the next year. And so staff, when we distributed the comments back to the applicants, we took all that into consideration, and we're always refining and rehoning this program to ensure that we stay competitive in ever-changing environments like we have right now in DC.
All right, thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, can I add to that?
Sure.
Supervisor Dallowall, that's a very great observation. What I will say about the 2025 May trip, it is a few days in May, but the effort for One Voice is every day, all year long, trip to trip. There is continuing dialogue by our federal advocacy team, by staff, and we're making connections well before the trip and well in the days and months after the trip to get projects funded.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Supervisor Dario. Questions for Mr. Campos, board members? So just one question, Mr. Campos. So you have sent the review back from the ad hoc committee to respective applicants.
Yes.
When is the deadline?
January 31st to receive any edits or necessary changes. It's a Friday.
So where does the East Water District stand based on your dates? They have really little time to submit anything.
Yeah, so they have already submitted their application. It's up to the board to provide feedback on how you want to move forward with that application. Does the board, want to include that in our list last year? We did include it in our product, in our binder that we take with us to DC. However, it was not, it was towards the back of the binder. It wasn't with the list itself. It was in a different section still highlighting it, allowing them to go speak with respective agencies that they're able and eligible to apply for grants for. So that still helped them, and they appreciated it very much so.
Mr. Chair, can I add to that?
Yes.
Joel's correct. There are two things we want to do with this discussion with the board. For the East Water District, I want to say they have been a friend to One Voice and a constant presence. In the case of the last few years, this board has narrowed down from 25, 30 projects to DC to asking jurisdictions to just submit their number one project, as well as to have agencies submit things consistent with the board-approved legislative platform, which is primarily transportation. So the East Stockton Water District has submitted a project which we believe has great value for the region, no question about that. And at a staff level, what we did last year with our project, because it's a fish ladder project, not directly related to transportation, but certainly has things related to environmental and other pillars of SJCOG. What we did in the partnership with the East Stockton Water District last year was we supported the project by this board, and we put it in not among the list of transportation projects, but as an information item so that so we could help them with their advocacy to the extent we can as they join us in DC. Staff expects to make that same recommendation. We've contacted the East Stockton Water District staff. They would be thrilled to continue with that support as an informational project as part of the transportation list of delegation that we did last year. And they would welcome that. And that, so we anticipate, if there are no objections, to follow that same process that we did last year for that project. Specific to the Tracy 580 Coral Hollow project, I've reached out to the city manager and the public works staff. They do plan to submit a substitute project for 580 Coral Hollow. We're going to open our process to allow them to do that because their submittal back in December for our deadline was when they did not know the great news that was coming of the $41 million. So that project will be removed from the list, and a new project will come back in February for your action. So I hope that clarifies the status of both of those projects.
Yes, Madam Director. So what do you want from us concerning East Stockton East Water District? What do you want
For
from this
tonight,
body?
if I see nods and no objections with the process of carrying them forward and bringing them back as an informational project in full support and have them involved as they always have been as a friend to One Voice, that's what I'm looking for. Any objections to that?
But any objection to East Water, Stockton East Water District? Okay. Mr. Campos?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, have some information items only. No presentation is required unless it is requested by any board member. All right, who's going to do the updates? Christine Tran? Is it share report? Oh, we're down to 8, okay, remember. Okay, all right, thank you, sir. Shares report. That's my report. It's like when I see our past mayor, he's been so mayor for so long. It's so difficult to really pin some few things down. All right, thank you, everyone. I don't know if I still have to state my name, but my name is Paula Kinjo. I'm the newly elected mayor from the city of Lathrop. I understand we are the second fastest growing city in the state. This past few days that we're in Sacramento, and then we'll be 5th in the nation for a while. We want to be number 1. But I thank you for the honor of sharing this board, and congratulations to Mayor Fugazi on her election as the vice mayor, as the vice chair position. I'm not new to this board. I know most of our interaction has been somewhat on the, I don't want to use the word forceful, maybe a forceful type of relationship with the SJCOG. And that's because of the number of hats that I have to wear. I wear so many hats for my city, apart from being passionate about transportation issues, including water, airport, Stockton Port, rail, all those things. I just love those kind of discussion. So, but this time, I will defer back to Supervisor Dean. He said something during the last inauguration. Said the reason elected officials are not sleeping well, let's listen to that carefully. The reason they are not sleeping well is because they are not delivering for the people. If you deliver for the constituents and for the people, according to him, I'm paraphrasing, if I'm wrong, please correct me, we shouldn't have no problem sleeping. Is that right?
I liked your quote better.
So that is where we are. I like SJCOG. I've been going to DC with them since 2012 for the One Voice trips in 2012. So I kind of know exactly where we are going, where we are driving at, and some of these projects, whether they fly or they did not fly, we take them with us anyway. So thank you. But I need to give a special attention, though, to few things. SJCOG is the Council of Government for our area. I like processes. I like process, but I'm not process junkie that I want to deliver for the people. And you can see that from our mayor, my former mayor, and our relationship in the city of Lathrop. We love to deliver. 6 months might not be enough for me to deliver anything, but that wouldn't stop me. I can say that now. That wouldn't stop me from pushing. We need some deliveries. I could, based on what Supervisor Dean has always reminded us. We can stay on process for years. Process, years. You can stay on process for years, but the way to make things easier, where the processes needs to be reformed, I'm for it. Let us move away from some of the obstacles that is really holding us back. And I'm imploring this board to look into those processes. We have a few of them this evening that we have just looked. I was just fortunate that they look at the Measure K. I did. I did study it, and there are a lot of things, questions that is there. But if we are not careful, we need to move. So we cannot stay on processes. That would be one of the things I would like the board to think about. Don't cut corners, but where we can make things easier for our citizens, for our projects, let's do it. So I have joined the SJCOG One Voice on behalf of the city of Lathrop, where I have seen how SJCOG builds partnerships and works tirelessly for this region. So in the next 6 months as chair, I will make sure all your voices are heard as we develop policies and work together in delivering transportation projects for our community, for our citizens, and for our region. Thank you. I'm not sure if the vice chair has something to say, since you are new too.
I guess it would fall under council members' report, or yes? So I would just like to say how excited I am to be here. I served for, 4 months back in 2020, and it is such an amazing organization that brings together, our rail, our RTD, and projects that affect the lives of so many people in all of our communities. It literally is, it helps them with their quality of life. It brings them the opportunity to have choices. A lot of people don't have choices, and working together, having that one voice. I know I've talked about one Stockton, but now I'm talking about one voice in terms of our region and what we can do. As Grandma said, many hands make for light work, and us all coming together in order to, as the chair said, deliver on our projects, because that's what people are looking for. They're like, hey, my tax dollars are going out, and we want to show them exactly where their tax dollars are going here in our region. So, like I said, happy to be here.
Thank you. So next, anybody else has any comment? Yes, Mayor Aliola.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to take a moment. I'm Dan Ariola, newly elected mayor for the city of Tracy. I am new to the COG board, but I have been going to One Voice trips for years. And just on behalf of my city, I just wanted to genuinely thank our staff and each of our my colleagues up here for working alongside the city of Tracy in advocating for us to receive $41.3 million. I can't tell you how exciting it is for Congressman Josh Harder's name to come up on my phone and to receive that information. And my hope is that you all too will receive those calls. But thank you for your advocacy and working alongside us. We could not have done it without you. So just on behalf of the city, thank you.
Yeah, talking about, thank you, Mayor Ariola, the staffs. If you see me around, please, don't take my presence so seriously. I just like to study things. I like to study things. I like to find out how things work. So if I ask you a question, please, if you are not comfortable, you don't have to answer it. You know, so I might be here sometime just going through some paperwork and stuff like that. It's nothing. I'm not investigating anything. I just like to be prepared for things that I want to do. So as the staff is concerned, we cannot do anything without the staff. You guys are the one driving the engine under the leadership of our CEO. So we respect you a lot. Just let us know how we're doing sometimes too. So thank you. Most of you already know, so that is why I can speak directly to some of these issues. We've been to DC together. We've been here together most of the time. So thank you so much, staff, for what you have been doing. All right. Yes.
Just so I didn't want it to be forgotten. I know our Mayor for Tracy just mentioned, I mean, you can't give credit where credit is due, Senator Padilla. So just want to make sure his name is out there and, you know, thank him.
Yes, all our senators and congressmen, they've been very helpful, and they know when we are coming, and they are ready for us. So, yeah, I agree with you, Supervisor Rickman. It is nice to remember them, too. Thank you. So, and board members report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A recent program that we have started is called Rediscover Your City, and in particular, the Miracle Mile. RTD has released a short video reel promoting the use of local Route 40, that's our bus rapid transit line, to access local businesses along Miracle Mile. This project was a collaboration with the Miracle Mile business, including Dragon Ferry Body and Soul, Comel Coffee, and Hidden Gem. The video also highlighted Shop San Joaquin and the Open Rewards app, which encourages customers to support local businesses by taking advantage of the dollar-for-dollar rewards for spending locally. This effort aligns with RTD's goals and initiatives to foster meaningful public engagement, supporting economic growth through accessible transportation options. Second item is service change. On Sunday, January 26th, San Joaquin Regional Transit District will implement several service changes designed to enhance accessibility, increase rider convenience, and improve overall service efficiency. These changes are the result of careful evaluation of rider needs, route performance, and traffic conditions. To ensure riders are informed of these changes, RTD has developed a comprehensive marketing and communications plan. Key elements include digital communication, targeted email campaigns, direct mail, community engagement, and media outreach. And lastly, free Wi-Fi on the buses. RTD now offers free Wi-Fi on all RTD buses, including local, express, hopper, and commuter routes. This new feature allows passengers to stay connected, work, or enjoy entertainment during their commute. Passengers can easily access the free Wi-Fi by connecting to RTD Connect on their Wi-Fi enabled mobile device and using the password provided on the buses. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Caltrans, Grace?
I want to make sure this is on. Good afternoon, Chair. Thank you. Grace Magsayo, the Caltrans District 10 Director. I do have a few items to share with the group this evening. California State Transportation Agency and the Department of Transportation released the 2024 California State Rail Plan at the beginning of January. This rail plan is a long-range vision of statewide investments to create a zero-emission, fully interconnected rail and transit network as part of California's ambitious climate change goals. The plan calls for creating a statewide rail network that connects seamlessly with other transportation modes, including intercity, regional, and local transit systems, to make traveling by train a more attractive option compared to car or air travel. And the key benefits of the plan include shifting nearly 200 million daily passenger miles from state highways to the statewide rail network, therefore reducing congestion and emissions. And as previously mentioned, congratulations to the City of Tracy. They were awarded $41.3 million for the 580 Coral Hollow Road Interchange project, and that award is 20% of what California received. The total funds received for California transportation infrastructure projects was $258 million. And our work on the State Route 99 Comprehensive Multimodal Corridor Plan is ongoing. Caltransit continues to develop the State Route 99, what we call CMCP. It covers San Joaquin, Stanislaus, and Merced County, along with our District 3 and District 6 counterparts, the south and the northern neighbors to us. We are currently working on engagement efforts, and English and Spanish flyers for public upcoming virtual community meetings have been released, and the community meetings are scheduled for February 20, 26, and 27. The target for the final report will be this summer. Here. And some grant funding calls for project nominations. The round 2 of Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, referred to as RAISE grants. Our call for application is out. The available funding is $1.5 billion, and we have a pretty tight deadline of January 30, 2025, which is just next week. And we have another call for applications for Community Wildfire Defense Program through the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and the available funding for that is $200 million. The fund or the program's goal is to help communities and tribes plan for and reduce wildfire risk and implement the National Cohesive Wildland Fire Management Strategy. So available funding is $200 million, and the deadline is February 28, 2025. And Caltrans recently released our new airspace property requirements, including this new property, airspace property requirement it's basically an improvement on our current airspace lease. The changes that you will see in this new policy are we will be ending our open storage leases, and we will be increasing liability insurance coverage, and we will be barring the construction of new permanent buildings and prohibiting flammable materials in, around, and adjacent state property or right-of-way. Our primary goal with this change is to protect the safety of the traveling public and sustain the integrity of the highway infrastructure. As our assessment of the airspace leasing program continues, we will be reviewing the recommendations as they come in to help us meet our goal. And for District 10, and specifically for San Joaquin County and in Stockton, we do have several airspace leases within the city boundaries, so we will be working with our respective leases to work out those new requirements. And that is it for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Grace. Next is Port of Stockton, Mr. Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to share our shipping volumes with you from calendar 2024. We had 256 vessel visits, which is about 11% down from 2023. Our total metric tons handled was 3.7 million versus 4.3 in 23, which is about a 14% reduction. Liquid bulk, we handled 1.5 million tons, virtually even with what we did in 23. And dry bulk was represented at 1.6 million tons, which was about 26% off from the 2.1 million tons in 23. That concludes my report. Next time, I hope to share with you our financial results for the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bill. Supervisor Rickman.
Thank you, Chairman. Just real quick, I want to say thank you to you, Grace, and your team for your response to the 120 at Brennan issue. I know, talking to Jeremy over there from Escalon, and so the city of Escalon, San Joaquin County, all the residents over there, appreciate you guys' response. And thank you for what you guys did on northbound 5 at 205, the number 2 lane, when they had that grading issue. You guys repaved that. You know, I've heard of some constituents that, you know, they're happy to see that you guys took care of it. So you guys work hard. Just want to acknowledge your hard work, and we appreciate being, you know, working so great together.
Thank you so much, and really those kudos goes to my team and especially our field guys that actually do the work. So I will bring that home to them.
So, Madam Grace, I have a question, or a follow-up with Supervisor Rickman. So all these leases that you are talking about, how would they know if they are not on this meeting, if they are not watching, how would they know what you are doing?
So we will be making contact with them, and for us in District 10, we have already made initial contacts, and this will be kind of a process on identifying the specific uses, the current specific uses of each individual lease, and determining whether they comply with our new requirements, or we need to discuss potential exceptions to the requirements. So we will be making contact with them.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. All right. Executive Director's report.
Chair Kinjo, and congratulations on your appointment to this board, as well as Vice Chair Fugazi. I have a few things. One, have a request for board members. If you can stay after the board meeting, we'd like to have a group photo. I know not all of us are here, but it'd be great to get a group photo so we can post on the social media. And then wanted to say that for the new COG board members, welcome again. We would encourage your active participation on the COG board. I am meeting or have requested, I have met or in the process of meeting with each of you one-on-one. There's a boot camp book here for each of you on SJCOG. Just looking forward to your contribution here. I do want to give a shout out to council member from Mountain House, Dan Harrison, who he's an alternate for Mountain House. He has been auditing these meetings over the last few months, and he's there with Mountain House staff. So there's a lot to learn, and we're here to help you learn that. There was a mention during the COG board meeting about the executive committee. At today's consent calendar, the board approved the new membership of the executive committee. The executive committee is a small subset of board members, and they now include the chair and the vice chair, Chair Kinjo, Vice Chair Fugazi, And the other members include Supervisor Rickman, Councilmember Leo Zuber, and Mayor Gary Singh. They provide early review, preliminary thoughts, and direction to staff on items that go to this board. They're not alone. When we talk about process, this board every month has a slew of committees that also give feedback, and we provide that feedback to this board as we develop recommendations for you to consider. I wanted to talk about some development with the new administration, the Trump administration. There is a direct impact, we believe, that is happening so far from his executive orders. What I'm hearing from our federal lobbyist is that one of the executive orders you may be familiar with is about, in short, electric vehicle infrastructure and the federal investment in electric vehicle infrastructure. So there's been a 90-day hold on federal grants for EV infrastructure as the new administration reviews those federal grants. And we believe that one of the federal grants we have, it will be caught up in that. It is a federal grant we secured very recently for $15 million to install 100 electric vehicle chargers in every city and in the county. And we were planning to do that starting next year. So we expect that will be on hold as the new administration reviews their policies and their programming for those grants. So just wanted to share that development, and I will keep you up to speed if we hear any news about that. Speaking of grants, any day now, we're hoping to hear positive news from the Housing Community Development, HCD, about our $5 million grant ask for the Housing Trust Fund. So I hope to give you great news in the next few weeks as we're kind of counting the minutes to hear from them. I wanted to say thank you, Councilmember Lisa Craig, for the pecan pie that she has brought, famous secret family recipe that she has dangled in front of us for a few months now. And you know, like I said, she promised to deliver, and today she has delivered on that promise. If you haven't had a slice with the whipped cream, please enjoy that slice. For you all who are not familiar with why there's pecan pie, it's Councilmember Craig's thank you to the COG staff, because we worked in partnership with the rail staff and Lodi staff to do our little bit and help Lodi secure a grant for their community. It is a pass-through, so under our lead agency status, we formed a partnership and were able to secure that for the City of Lodi, and the grant will pass through COG. I wanted to highlight that for our new members. For many in the region, citizens may not be aware of San Joaquin Council of Governments and what the COG is, but at the state and federal level, it is very recognized as a coalition building force, which is very familiar with state and federal funds. So with that, the COG name does have straight and significant street credibility, and we want to leverage that name recognition and help agencies in their grant opportunities to the extent that we can and provide value, and that's what we're happy to do for Lodi. And we welcome the pecan pie. One thing I know about COG staff is we're very passionate in what we do, and we're fueled by sugar. So there is never a donut that the COG staff has turned down, and there's not going to be a slice of pecan pie left after tonight. So thank you, Member Craig. So thank you. That concludes my remarks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Executive Director. Thank you so much. So this meeting, on behalf of our brothers and sisters in Southern California that is going through this fire incident, this horrible thing that is happening down there, this meeting is adjourned on their behalf till February 27, 2024. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, the pictures.
If everyone can go right in front of the dais for our group picture, we'll only take a quick couple minutes. Thank you.